A very good morning, students. Welcome back to online course on programming for problem solving. In our previous session, we discussed the remaining concepts related to your loops. So I have explained how a for loop can be nested, and then after we discussed the break and continue statements. The different forms of for loop also we discussed. Okay. Quickly, in today's session, we are starting another important concept from your second unit, that is arrays. Okay. So here you can see the syllabus. We have this control structure part we have completed, and now we are at arrays. We are discussing arrays, and these arrays, they can be of 1D and they can be of 2D. One dimensional array and two dimensional. D stands for dimension. Okay, one dimensional, two dimensional. Okay, then we have to discuss character arrays and strings. Strings concept also we have to discuss in your second unit itself. Okay, so quickly, arrays concept we are starting in C programming. So what exactly is an array? How these arrays can be used in our programming? Okay, being an C programming object, how these arrays can be declared, defined, and initialized. Only these things we have to discuss, because I told you when we discussed the concept of identifiers, the concept of variables, that every object, every element, whatever you are going to use in your C programming, you must have to do the initialization, you must have to do the definition, you must have to do the declaration. So actually I have given these terms in reverse order. First you have to do the declaration, then definition, then initialization. Declaration is nothing but giving the name to it. Okay, giving the identifier to it is nothing but declaration. Then definition is nothing but specifying the type, what type of data we are going to store in a particular element or in a particular memory location or in a particular variable. So that we specify, I mean that type we specify in definition. Then finally the initialization, the actual value we store, I mean that type of value we store into that variable, into the variable, and this thing we called it as an initialization. So when we are writing some statement, some simple statement, once again I'm giving the clarity on what is declaration, what is definition, and what is initialization. So when you are writing a simple statement like this, so let us say I'm writing int followed by a equals to 20, a simple statement I'm writing like this. So this declaration is nothing but giving the name to it. Here we have given the name a to the variable. So this giving name is nothing but the declaration. So when you specify the type that I'm going to store only integer type of value into this variable a is nothing but the definition. So this is declaration, this is definition, and finally assigning the value to it is nothing but the initialization. Okay, initialization. So another thing you have to understand over here, whenever we are going for initialization, we are assuming that the declaration and definition has been done. Okay, the declaration and definition has been done. So writing int a equals to 20 like this, a simple statement. So giving name is nothing but declaration. Okay, declaration. Specifying type is nothing but definition. Okay, and finally assigning the value is nothing but initialization. Initialization. So if you're doing initialization, that means already the declaration and definition has been done, or if you're doing the definition, that means already the declaration has been done. Okay, after giving the name only we can give the definition, and without name, the definition, giving definition, it is not possible. To whom you will give the definition? Okay, there may be a question, to whom you will give the definition. So that is the reason why first you have to choose the name for the variable, then you declare it, then you define it. Choosing the name is nothing but declaration, specifying the type is nothing but definition, assigning the value is nothing but initialization. So yeah, quickly, when we study about arrays in C programming, when we study about arrays, first of all, we have to understand the need for arrays. Why we need arrays in C programming? Okay, why we need arrays for C programming. Then we see the definition. Then we see how we do the declaration, definition, and initialization of arrays. With that, we conclude this concept. And as I said, arrays, they are of two types, one dimensional, two dimensional. So hopefully in today's session, we discuss only one dimensional array. And in one more session, I will conclude the two dimensional, second dimensional array, two dimensional array. And there is another category, three dimensional arrays, as we have just now seen. That concept, three dimensional arrays concept, it is not there in your syllabus, so we are not discussing that one. Okay, if you want to do the research on this three dimensional arrays, you can do from your site. Okay, because time is a constraint over here, we have to run after the time. So because of that reason, we are not going, I mean, C programming, it's an ocean. Even if we take 2 full years to deliver this subject, that's not enough. And we have the time limitation over here. We have to wind up the syllabus in 3 to 4 months only. Your semester is of 3 to 4 months, and we have to wind up the syllabus in 3 to 4 months. Because of that reason, we are moving as per your OU curriculum. We are not discussing many things. Believe me, we are not discussing many things that you have to do the practice from your side. Okay, so yes. Suppose, I mean, why we need arrays in C programming, that I will do the, I mean, that I will give the answer first. So yeah, whenever we are storing some kind of values in our program, when we are writing a C program, definitely we are storing the values, isn't it? So in order to store one value, we are requiring one variable. We are in need of one variable. And if you need two values to be stored, you need two variables. Okay, and when you are giving the variables for storing the values, you are also doing the declaration for those variables. Doing declaration is nothing but giving the names. So if you have taken two values in your program, if you are performing operations on two values, then how many variable names you need? Two variable names, isn't it? Two variable names you need. Same way, if you need 3, 4, 5, you need 3, 4, 5 different names, so that you can distinguish those variables, so that you can uniquely identify those variables. So that is the reason why we are giving different names to different variables. Okay, so to some extent, the concept of giving different names will work out up to like, let us say 10, up to 10. Okay, if you have 10 variables into your program to use, then we can give 10 different names and we can remember those names, because in our program logic, because we only responsible for narrating the logic, we only responsible for writing the logic. So when you're writing that logic, remembering 10 names, to some extent it will look feasible, to some extent it will look an easy job. But as the variable count increases, let us assume a scenario where you have to use like 50 variables in your program. So is it possible to remember 50 different names? Is it possible to by heart 50 different names when you are writing a simple logic? It is not possible, isn't it? As the number of variable count increases, the names to those variables will also increase. And in order to frame the logic on those variables, the programmer's responsibility is to remember those names, isn't it? To remember those names to some extent, yani up to 10, up to 15, or up to 5, 10, it will look an easy job, because remembering 5 names, it is not a difficult job. Remembering 10 names even, it is not a difficult job. But as the count increases, when we are going for like 50 variables to maintain, like 100 variables to maintain, then the complexity will increase and the difficulty of remembering those jobs, I mean those names, will also increase. And moreover, whenever we are using variables in our program, okay, whenever we are using variables in our program, we have to read the values from the keyboard for those variables. As the variable count increases, okay, the number of read statements, like scanf statements to read the values into those variables, will also increase, isn't it? If you are reading only one value, we are writing one scanf statement. If you are reading two values, two scanf statement, or a single scanf statement with two conversion codes. Likewise, as the number of variables increases into your program, the number of scanf statements, or the number of what we call conversion codes, will also increase. It is a redundancy, we can say. Redundancy in the sense repetition. Okay, doing the same work again and again. Doing the same work again and again. And believe me, when you write the program code, if you write the code repeatedly, nobody will accept your code. Your code will be treated as an inefficient code. So that things, I mean, these type of things we have to avoid. So Once again, I'm making the problem statement over here. See, when we are using more number of variables in our program, as the variable count increases, the difficulty of giving the names to those variables and the difficulty of remembering those variable names will also increase. Okay, not only this one, the read and write operations like reading the values into the variables and printing the values from the variables onto your output screen will also increase, because we have to write same code again and again to read the values into those variables and to print the values from those variables. Okay, so these are some difficult things what we have when the variable count in your program will increase. So that same things I have, whatever I have just now explained, that same thing you can see in these four statements. So if we have to read, process and print 10 integers, then we need 10 integers in memory for the duration of the execution of your program. We can declare and define 10 variables with different names. Okay, to some extent it is feasible, to some extent it is an easy job. To read these 10 variables from the keyboard, we need 10 read, that is nothing but scanf statements. And also to print these 10 variables onto the output screen, we need 10 output, that is nothing but printf statements. Okay, 10 means to some extent we can accept. Okay, this is something redundancy in the programming code. Again, here also, even if you are doing 10 statements for reading, 10 statements for writing, it is a redundancy only. Redundancy in the sense, same work you are doing again and again. Okay, it is a kind of redundancy. The approach may look simpler. Whatever solution we are giving, it may look simpler. Giving a different name to different variables and reading using reading using scanf statement and printing using printf statement, it may look acceptable to some extent for 10 variables. 10 variables means it is not a difficult job, as I said. But if the variable count increases rapidly, 10 from 10 to 100, from 100 to 1000, likewise if the variable count is increasing, then what will happen? Nowhere the above concept is acceptable. Giving different name to the variables, reading using scanf, writing using printf, nowhere that kind of solution is acceptable. Hence, we have to look for a suitable solution where a large amount of data, multiple variables can be stored, multiple data elements, multiple values can be stored and processed without any difficulty. Okay, without any difficulty. So for that purpose, your C programming language uses a powerful structure known as arrays. A powerful structure known as arrays. So whenever I am saying an array, okay, whenever I am saying an array, you have to, first thing which should come into your mind, because this arrays concept, when you understand this arrays concept, again it is same for C, C++, Java, Python, R, whatever programming language, or JavaScript, whatever programming language you take, in all those programming languages, the concept of array is same. The concept of arrays is same. So whatever we are learning over here, the same concept we apply to all these programming languages. So what is the advantage? To process the large amount of data, or to store the large amount of data and process that large amount of data, we are using arrays in C programming. Or C programming uses a powerful tool to do the above job, or powerful structure to do the above job. That structure is nothing but your arrays. So an array is a collection. This thing you have, whenever I am saying an array, this thing should strike in your mind. What is it? Array is a collection. It is not a single thing. It is a collection. It is a bunch. Okay, it is a bunch. It is a collection. So what collection it is having? Is it having collection of elements? Collection of elements. So what type of elements we can store into an array? Can we store different types of elements? No, it is not possible. If you are creating an integer array, then that means you can store only integer type of values into that one. If you are creating a character array, that means you can store only character type of values into that one. So array is type specific. Array is type specific, where if you have declared an array of one type, you can store the elements of that type only. Even if you have an array of 1000 elements, the 1000 elements must be of same type of whatever you have declared, declared and defined, we can say. An array is a collection of elements of same data type. An array is a a collection of elements of same data type. Okay, array elements can be initialized, accessed and manipulated using the indexing. So here, in order to initialize, in order to access, or in order to manipulate the array elements, we make use of the index. So now the concept of arrays is clear. Again, we have to understand the terminology now. If the concept of arrays is clear, we have to understand the terminology of that array. That terminology is nothing but the words or the terms what we are going to use inside your arrays concept. Inside your arrays concept. So here I have given an example, score of 10. Score of 10. So here score is the array name. Score is the collection name. And in that collection, what we are having? We are having 10 elements. That in between the square brackets, we are writing this 10. Isn't it? In between the square brackets, when we are writing this 10 indicates the array is of 10 elements. The array is of 10 elements. And the score is the array name. Only one name we are remembering now. We are not remembering 10 names. See, 10 elements I have grouped. 10 elements I have grouped into this score, into this array. And that complete group I'm identifying with this simple name, score. I'm not remembering 10 names over here. I'm remembering only one name. So score is my name that I have to remember in order to access this array. And how many elements I have into this, how many elements I have into this collection, in the sense 10 elements I have. Here score will contain 10 elements. So this score is a collection of 10 elements. Okay, score is a collection of 10 elements. So this is how we create an array. This is how we create an array. Simply give the name, give a specific name to the array, and between the square brackets specify how many elements you need in that collection. Because array is a collection, so how many elements you need in that collection, you have to specify between the square brackets. Square brackets are like this. Here I have taken. So the same thing, the square brackets. Between the square brackets, whatever count you need, that count you have to specify. Let us say if I specify like this, okay, a of, not only the full name, you can even take a single character as a name to the array. So a of 1000. So here this array a, how many elements it is having? 1000 elements it is having into it. 1000 elements I grouped into this name a. So now these 1000 elements we are going to identify with this array name a only. With this array name a only. So now when I am storing 1000 elements into my program, am I remembering 10,000 names over here? No, I am not remembering. Then what I am remembering? I am remembering only one name, that is a. That's it. By remembering this a, I can access this 1000 elements from my collection, from my group, from my array. So that access, initialization, accessing, manipulation, all those things we see in our further slides. So here you simply understand that here when I have created a score array, this score array is a collection which contains 10 elements. Which contains 10 elements. So this is something about arrays. So as I said, arrays, they are always accessed, or arrays, they are always manipulated. Arrays, they are always initialized using the index. And what is that index means? Whatever we are specifying between the square brackets, we call it as an index. We call it as an index because when we are creating a collection of 10 elements, when we are creating a collection of 10 elements with one single name, how you are going to access the individual elements from that group, individual elements from that collection, means with the help of indexing. With the help of indexing. So array index, it always starts at 0 and ends at maximum number of elements minus 1. Okay, this particular statement, it is very, very, very important with respect to your arrays concept. Array indexing, we said always it will start with 0 and ends at maximum size minus 1. So in my previous slide, I have declared an array of score 10. Isn't it? Score of 10. Like this I have declared. So what is my identifier for this array? This is the identifier for the array. So I have to remember only this name. This is my identifier, this is my noun, this is my name given to the array. So I have to remember only this one. Then how many elements I have into this score? I have 10 elements as the count over here indicating 10. So I have 10 elements. So this particular thing, this particular area will be called as the index area, array index area. So using this index, I can uniquely identify and I can distinguish all my 10 elements from the array. I can distinguish all my 10 elements from the array. So in order to, as we said, array index always start at 0 and ends at maximum size minus 1. Maximum size minus 1. So in our example, the index value, we have declared the size as 10. Okay, total size, total number of elements as 10. So where the index value will start, index value always we said it starts with 0, and where it will end, maximum number of elements minus 1. So maximum number of elements here is 10, that minus 1 is nothing but 9. So I have to identify all my elements with this index value 0 to 9. So score of 0 will become my first element into this array. Score of 0 will become my first element into this array. Then score of 1 will become my second element into the array. Score of 2 will become third element. Score of 3 will become fourth element. Score of 5 will become Score of 4 will become fifth element. Score of 5 will become sixth element. So likewise, score of 6 will become my seventh element. Then score of 7, score of 8, score of 9, score of 7, score of 8, score of 9, like this. How many elements I have now? This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Like this, you can access all 10 elements with the same common name just by changing the index value. You can access all 10 elements. Now you judge. Now you judge by yourself which one is easy job. Whether giving 10 different names to 10 different memory locations, or not, that is nothing but 10 different variables into your program, or taking one common name and accessing with the help of indexes. Which one is feasible? Which one is acceptable? Which one is more easy? Of course, the second one is more easy. The arrays concept, using arrays concept to maintain multiple elements, more number of elements into your program, it is important. And array index, we said always it will start with 0 and ends at 9. Okay, so in our case, the array index will start from 0 and ends at 9. Okay, so starts with 0 and ends at maximum size minus 1. That is the standardized statement, generalized statement. And specifically, if you see the example, in our case, it will start from 0 and ends at 9, like that we said. So the next thing is using arrays in C programming. So, and as we said, arrays, they are homogeneous. Homogeneous in the sense, whatever elements you are keeping into an array, all those elements must be of same type. You cannot put one character element, one integer element, one float element, one boolean element. Likewise, you cannot put. When you are declaring an array, there only we are specifying the type, and your complete array will accept the elements of that type only. Your complete array will accept elements of that type only. It will not accept any elements of other type. Okay, so then using arrays in C, C provides two different types of arrays. In general, it is a multi-dimensional thing. There is no specification that C will support only two. It can be one-dimensional, it can be two-dimensional, three-dimensional, multi-dimensional. Okay, it can be any of these things. But for our understanding, we go with only one-dimensional and two-dimensional. One-dimensional and two-dimensional. So what is one-dimensional array? In one-dimensional array, the data are organized linearly in only one-dimensional. Okay, like a row. We are maintaining complete data like a row only. So here, like this, this is your one-dimensional array. So like this, we declare and define, initialize the array. So how many elements I have over here? 5 elements I have into my array. It is a only one dimension. In rows only, we are specifying all my data elements. In rows only, we are specifying all my data elements. Okay. Then we have another, if you see the complete definition of the array, yeah, we have to define an array something like this. An array is a collection of contiguous homogeneous data elements. because all array elements, they needs to be contiguous in your computer memory. Contiguous in the sense, here I have declared how many variables? 5 variables. So in your computer memory, those 5 variables, they needs to be contiguous. Contiguous in the sense, they have to be one after the other. They have to be one after the other. There is no concept of randomness. Okay, there is no concept of randomness. Like this, you can't take one memory location over here, one memory location over here. Like this, randomly you cannot take. All my memory locations, they need to be contiguous. Contiguous in the sense, they need to be attached to one another. They need to be attached to one another, like shops in a street or houses in a street. How they will be constructed? If 5 contiguous houses means they are going to be connected like this. Okay, they are going to be connected like this. So in that same way, when you are declaring an array, all your memory locations will be contiguous in computer memory. There is no randomness when the computer memory is allocated to an array. Okay, then we have two-dimensional array. In that two-dimensional arrays array data structure, all elements will be framed in 2 dimensions. So this is individual dimension, individual rows and then columns. So like this, it is a two-dimensional array. It is a two-dimensional array where the data will be organized, or where the data are organized in rows and columns like a matrix. Remember this one. In single dimensional array or in one dimensional array, data are organized linearly in only one dimension. But in a two dimensional array, the data are organized in rows as well as matrices, like an array. Okay, like an matrix. So then one dimensional array we start. Already I have given the definition for array. I have given the definition for one dimensional array as well. So once again I am repeating the definition. Array is a collection. First of all, you understand this one. Array is a collection. Collection means it is a group of elements. It is not a single element. You can put more than one element into the array. So array is a collection. And the second thing, array elements are contiguous. Array elements are contiguous, or the memory locations for an array will be contiguous. Contiguous means one after the other. There is no gapping in between. There is no randomness in between. Then all your array elements must be homogeneous. Homogeneous in the sense they need to be of same type. Okay, they need to be of same type. So array is a collection of contiguous homogeneous data elements. Like this, you remember the full definition. Array is a collection of contiguous homogeneous data elements. Okay, so array declaration tells the compiler the name of the array. So when you are declaring the array, we said declaring is nothing but giving the name. Array definition specifies the size or number of elements in the array. So array definition not only specifies the number of elements present inside the array, but also it will indicate what type of data we are going to store into that array. So array definition for an array, because array definition, it will do two things for us. Declaration, as usual, it will give only the name to the array. Definition, it will do two things. The first thing is it will specify the size and also the what we call type, what type of data we are going to store into that array. Okay, in a fixed length array, the size of the array is constant and must have a value at the compile time. So fixed length array, dynamic length array, we have two different types. We are not doing any dynamic concept over here. At the time of memory allocation, we will discuss a particular concept in your 4th unit, that is memory allocation functions. Over there again we discuss about arrays. How we do the memory allocation for arrays, over there we will discuss. Okay, but for now you remember we have only fixed length arrays, no dynamic concept right now. Only fixed length arrays we have, and for the fixed length arrays, when you are doing the declaration and definition, there only you have to specify the name as well as type as well as the size of the array. These three things you have to do. Declaration, definition, when you are doing declaration means specify the name. Definition means specify the type as well as the size, initial size, how many elements you want in that collection, in that array collection, that you have to specify at the compile time only. Compile time in the sense before you do any execution. Yani inside the program code only you have to specify these things: array name, array type and array size. These three things you have to specify. So over here you can see we are doing the, we are seeing the syntax of, this is not the example, basically it is a syntax. So type, you have to specify the type, any primitive type, your integer, character, float, any double, any primitive type you can specify. Array name, any identifier. Array name, anything you can take which should satisfy the identifier rules. Array name, anything you can take which should satisfy the identifier rules. And array size, it is a constant value that indicates the number of elements you need inside an array. The number of elements you need inside an array. So let us say I want a character array with 5 elements and the name should be CHR. The name should be ch, or in short we can say ch. So how you can declare the character array with name ch with 5 elements? So first of all, give the array name, that is ch. Ch is my array name, and how many elements I want? 5. And what type? Character type. So specify the character type. Character type array, name is ch, and how many elements it is having? 5 elements. So when you do like this, internally how many bytes of memory and how many blocks of memory will be allocated for this ch? Okay, it will allocate 5 blocks. Okay, and all these 5 blocks, they are contiguous, because array is contiguous collection, isn't it? Contiguous memory locations collection. So here first one, second one, third one, fourth, 5. Okay, and how we can access, and the name to this array is ch, and how we can access individual elements with the help of indexing. Always the indexing will start at 0 and ends at maximum size minus 1. So what is the maximum size over here? 5. 5 is the maximum count, and maximum count minus 1, you will get 4. So the array first element will be accessed like ch of 0, second element will be accessed like ch of 1, ch of 2, ch of 3, and finally the last element will be accessed like ch of 4. So ch of 0, comma ch of 1, comma ch of 2, comma ch of 3. Like this you can access all the elements present inside your array. Hopefully you understood. So the next thing, the declaration definition format for a variable length is same like a fixed length array, except the size is a variable. So variable length array, as I told you, that we are not discussing over here. At the time of dynamic memory allocation, over there we will discuss. The declaration and definition format for a variable length array, it is same like your fixed length array, but the size specification, in case of fixed length array we have to specify the size fixed, but in case of variable length array the size is not fixed. Okay, the array size will be determined with the when the program is executed. When you are executing the program, at that time we will specify the array size, and in static allocation it is not possible. In static allocation you can't make the array size as variable. Array size as variable. In dynamic allocation only you can make the array size as variable. That when it comes we will discuss. So for now you remember, whatever array declaration definition we are doing, that is static only. That is static only. So static means the size should be fixed, and that we have to specify when you are defining the array. When you are defining the array, at that point only you have to specify the array name, type, and size as well. Fixed size as well. But for a variable length array, you have the flexibility that you can give afterwards also. But for fixed size or the static array, it is not possible. Okay, so as I said, the array size will be, okay, once the size is determined, it can't be changed. For fixed length arrays, if you have specified the size of the array, that can't be changed. And even in dynamic case also, it can't be changed. Even if you want to change, you have to destroy the existing array and you have to take another new array, fresh array. Hope you will understand. Okay, see, every single point whatever I am giving over here, it is very worthy point we are discussing, and throughout your academics we are going to use these points with respect to arrays. Whatever awareness I am giving, whatever clarity I am giving, just follow it. Students, you will lose a lot if you skip these classes. You won't get anything in future, believe me, you won't get practical stuff. It is very difficult for you if you don't attend my theory classes. So that is the reason why I'm forcing all the students, and most probably I'm planning a what we call offline session as well as soon as possible. And even though we are calling you people to come offline for doubt clarification, nobody is turning up, nobody is approaching. Very few. Hardly we got like 20 to 30 students approached so far, in out of 180 plus civil and IEEE, only 30 students approached so far for doubt clarification, and they are good. They are good. They are clarifying their doubts and they are doing some innovative things in C programming. Believe me, they are. I mean, after clarifying their doubts, they are doing some innovative things. Believe me. If you're not, if you're not having any kind of belief on me, you can approach them and you can see how good they are in C programming and how they are developing projects. What I mean to say, small scale projects they are developing, and they are approaching the head as well. They are coming to me to convey, to deliver the project or to show the project to the head of the department, and your head of the department is really happy after seeing that kind of execution from your side. Okay, so all should my intention, when you have taken the CSE department as your career stream, my intention, it is very clear. You need to have full clarity on what you are doing. You need to have full clarity. Without the clarity, don't do anything. Okay, so I suggest you don't waste the time. Be practical and start doing the stuff right away, because BE, base Bachelor of Engineering, what we study over here, it is not something like a elementary school education or intermediate college education. It is a career oriented education. Okay, because immediately after completion of this BE, many of you, okay, of course, some of you might be planning for higher studies like masters, going for PhD program and all those things. I'm not saying that is not good, but for the people, for the students, those who have immediate career option after completing the BE, if they want to get into career, then you can treat this 4 years of course as your career academics, isn't it? Career training, we can say. And in that, towards that only we are moving, and we are slowly making you to put your steps towards that only. Okay, towards your career orientation only. Hopefully you understood. So here, arrays, they can be of fixed length, they can be of variable length. Fixed length arrays we can do only statically in the program itself, and when you are declaring a fixed length array, give the name, specify the type, and specify how many elements. The size of the array also you have to specify. It will become a fixed length array. Okay, once it is fixed, it can't be changed. Even if you want to change, you have to declare another array and you have to destroy the current array. Okay, for dynamic length array, you only have the flexibility of what we call giving the array size at program execution, giving the array size at program execution, and that also, it is as you are giving, only one option you have. Throughout the execution of program, only one time you can change the array size. Once the array size is changed, it can't be, what we call, it cannot be modified. The size cannot be modified. Even if you try to modify it, you have to destroy the current array and you have to create another array. Because the reason over here is because the nature of your array, we said all your array elements are contiguous. Contiguous means one after the other. Okay, one after the other. So let us say if you want to add more elements once the array is created, it is not possible, because there may be or there may not be gaps in your contiguous structure, because all elements, they need to be contiguous. You cannot randomize, isn't it? You cannot randomize. If you are trying to modify the array size, there may or may not be the empty locations after your array. So because of that reason, what the compiler is doing, it is not at all allowing us, once the array is created, we cannot modify the size. In fixed and in dynamic, in both the approaches, we cannot modify the array size. Okay, if you are trying to modify, means simply delete the first array and create another array. Okay, then accessing the elements, how we are going to access the array elements, whatever elements we have inside an array, how we are going to access, means by making use of the index. So to access the individual elements in an array, index can be used. Array index can be used. The index must be an integer value. It cannot be an expression. That means if you are evaluating something and storing the result over there, it should not be like that. That evaluates to an integral value. Okay, it should not be an it can be an expression, but the expression, it should not go to some negative value or some precisions. Okay, that thing I want to convey over here. To access the individual elements in an array, the array index can be used. Okay, the array index, it must be an integral value or an expression which yields an integral value, which gives an integral value, which evaluates to an integral value. Remember this one. Okay, to process all the elements, we will take the help of loops, because writing individual elements, okay, writing individual elements or printing individual elements, again it is a repetitive job. Again it is a repetitive job. So to avoid that repeatedness, what we do, we go for loops once again. We go for loops once again, and the same score array we are declaring over here. Okay, we are declaring over here, and this is how we can access all the elements from your array. Okay, if it is of 10 elements, we are declaring a counter, a program, a loop counter I with 0 to less than 10, and we are accessing all the elements from my array. We'll do more programs on this one so that you can get some clarity. Okay, so then we have the array names is a symbolic reference. Okay, and it always takes the address of the first element. So your array, it is a collection. Even though it is a collection, we have to start our consideration from one point. Okay, from one point, isn't it? Even though it is a collection, we have to start our consideration from one point. That one point is nothing but your first element into the array. So simply, whatever name we are giving to the array, that name will hold the address of the first element. That name itself will hold the address of the first element. By simply making use of that first name, okay, first memory location's address, will try to access all our elements from the array simply by making use of the index. Okay, so the index represents an offset from the beginning of the array to the element being referenced. So if you are accessing the 0th element, means the first element, then the index, you don't need to add any index value. You don't need to add any offset. So 0 means the first location itself. You don't need to add any offset. So if you are accessing the second element, you have to add the offset of first element, isn't it? If you are accessing the second element, that means you have to add the offset of first element. That we are doing. So if you are adding the offset of first element to the index value, it will become 1. Because first element's offset is 0, and the second element to access, you have to add the offset of first element. So 0 plus 1, that will be the second element. Okay, it is very clear. See, we are creating an array. So this 5 elements, like this we said. So the name of this array is score, and the index values 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, like this. So in order to access the first element, because always this score is going to point the first element itself. Okay, every element over here, the first element, second element, third element, fourth element, fifth element, all my elements, they are going to have some unique addresses. And we said they are contiguous. Like shops in a street, we said. So if you remember the shop numbers, when all the shops belonging to the same street, and same one side only, same street, in the sense they are contiguous shops, one after the other, their shop numbers will be like this, isn't it? If it is having some 100 as the shop number, the second one will become 101, 102, 103, 104, like this. All shop numbers will continue, isn't it? So that is that kind of advantage we are having when we are having a array in our programming. All my array elements, they will be contiguous in nature, one after the other. Okay, so how we can access the 0th element, first element? Because to access the first element, as my score is pointing to the first element, I don't have to add any offset, isn't it? I don't have to add any offset. So even if I take score of 0, I will get the first element. So to access the second element, I have to add this thing. I have to add the offset of first element. I have to add. That offset is nothing but one element offset, isn't it? One element offset. So score of 0 plus 1. So this will give the second element. So that is nothing but score of 1 only. Score of 1 will give the second element. So likewise, in order to access the second element, you have to add the offset of first element. So that offset of first element is nothing but 1. From here to here it is 1, and here to here it is 2. So likewise, you will get the second element. So simply remember whatever I am giving over here. Okay, offset point of view is very easy to understand. from here to here, whatever dimension we have, we call it as an offset. We call it as an offset. So to access the 0th element, no need to add this offset. Directly score is pointing to that one. But in order to access the first element, you need to add this offset. So this offset is one element. So that if you are adding, you are reaching the second element, because the second element will start from this wall. Okay, so in order to access the third element, what you have to do, you have to reach this wall. You have to reach this wall in order to access the third element. So what you have to add, only two you have to add, this offset and this offset you have to add, so that you will reach the third element. So now you are in third element, so that is nothing but second index. So in order to access the fourth element, you have to reach this wall. You have to reach this wall, and that wall is how many elements away? 3 elements away, 3 offsets away. So simply add 3 to 0 to get this fourth element. So that is nothing but score of 3 will become your fourth element. So to access the last element, you have to access this wall only, this particular wall only. And this particular wall, to access, how many offsets I have to add? 1, 2, 3, 4 offsets I have to add. So if I add 4 offsets to this score, my score will reach this fourth element, and I can access this fourth element. So likewise you remember. Okay, so likewise you remember. So the array name is the symbolic reference. It will always point the first element of the array only. It will always point the first element of the array. So storing values, we do the initialization using assignment operator, equals to operator. So that storing, it can be of 4 types. Okay, storing values in an array. Declaration definition only reserves the space for the elements in the array. To store values in an array, you must be initialized. Okay, to initialize values in an array, they can be read from the keyboard, or they can be assigned with individual values. Yeah, we have the flexibility. Either we can read from the keyboard, or directly within the program we can initialize. So initialization, array elements, array, we already said it is a fixed length, isn't it? Whatever size we are giving to the array, it is fixed length array, and it can be initialized when they are declared. Okay, for variable length arrays, they can't be initialized when they are defined. So the concept of variable length array, it is not in our observation right now. When it comes to discussion, we will do. To initialize the array elements with a set of values, they must be enclosed within the curly brackets. Okay, within the curly brackets, and they must be separated by commas. How we are separating different values means with the help of commas. Okay, it is a compiler error to specify more values than the elements in the array. So suppose if your array is having only 4 values and you are assigning some 10 values to that array, it is an error. Remember this one. So all these things, when we do practically, again we will focus on these things. So yeah, array initialization, it can be done in 4 different ways. If you are doing the array initialization within the program, it can be done in 4 different ways. Reading values from the keyboard, it is a secondary thing that we will discuss. But initialization, when you are doing using with the help of assignment operator, it can be done in 4 different ways. The basic initialization, initialization without size, partial initialization, and initializing all elements to 0. So last time in your AICTE exam only, for your seniors, they asked this question for 2 marks. Okay, the same question they asked for 2 marks. Only this much of thing you have to write. The initialization can be done in the following ways: basic initialization, initialization without size, partial initialization, initialization to all zeros. Okay, so here basic initialization, how we do? Yeah, we take the array name, that is scores, then take the data type, which is integer, and specify the size, that is 5. So if you do in this way, and this array, how many elements it can take? It can take 5 elements. It can take 5 elements. So 3, 7, 12, 24, 45. Like this, you are specifying all elements. All elements, not more than, not less than. 5 elements you have, and 5 elements you are assigning. So this is basic initialization. This is basic initialization. So the second way of initialization is initializing the array elements without zeros. Sorry, without size. You can even initialize an array without the size. So if you initialize values, like suppose here you, how many values you have initialized? 5 values. So automatically the size of array will become 5. Automatically the size of array will become 5. And when you are doing the when you are doing the definition of array without the size, at that point only you have to do the initialization, because declaration without size, it is not allowed. Declaration without size, it is not allowed. And moreover, whatever elements you are assigning over here, that much size it will occupy inside your computer memory. If you are assigning over here, let us say 10 elements, then automatically the array size will become 10. Okay, so then partial initialization, if you don't want to initialize the rest of the values, like only two values you want to initialize and rest of the values you don't want to initialize, simply make them zeros. Okay, this is partial initialization. Then initializing all elements to 0, like this you can do. Scores of 5 equals to, simply put a single value 0 in within the curly brackets. No need to put 5 zeros over here. Oh, if you do like this, all 5 elements of your array will become zeros. So scores of 1 also, because 0 will become 0, scores of 1 will become 0, scores of 2 likewise, up to scores of 4, all elements will become 0 only. Okay, so I guess it's too much. I will stop my class here itself. Yes, it's almost 50 minutes. Many different concepts we discussed in today's session. But before concluding my class, up to this initialization, I want to show the what we call practical. I want to show the practical. So simply go to the uh, Dev CPP IDE. So take a new source file. Over here, start writing the program. Hash include stdio dot h, then int main of void. Okay, like this. This is the structure of my C program. So now what I am doing, I am declaring an array, isn't it? I am declaring an array. So how we can do the declaration? Give the name to the array. So scores, score is my array name. Then what else is missing? Specify the type, definition. Again, what else is missing? Size I have to specify, like 5 elements I am specifying. So this is my array declaration. This is my array declaration. So now I have two possibilities. Either I can do the initialization within the program, or I can do the initialization from the keyboard. So because from the keyboard we have not discussed, so I will do the initialization over here itself. So the basic initialization, see, we have to take the curly brackets to give the values, like 10 comma 4 comma 23 comma 17 comma minus 1 minus 1, like this we have taken. How many values? 5 values. At the end, put the semicolon, like this. So now this scores is my array. This scores is my array with 5 elements, and those 5 elements are nothing but these things. And how I can access all these elements from my array, in the sense, the first element I can access scores of 0, second element scores of 1, third element scores of 2, scores of 3, scores of 4. Likewise, I can access all my elements. So simply, for accessing these elements, how many, I mean, because I have 5 elements, so in order to access these elements, how many printf statements I need to print? 5 values I have to print. So 5 printf I need. Okay, printf percentile d backslash n. So first element, how I can print? Scores of 0. At the end, put the semicolon. Put the semicolon and go to the next line, like this. So again, how I can access the first element? Control C, go to end, hit the enter key. Here you put scores of 1. Okay. Then scores of 2. Then scores of 3. Okay. Likewise, so I mean, after printing the first value only I want to show. Okay. Control Z, Control Z, Control Z. Here what we are doing, only first element we are printing. Only first element we are printing. So save it, some class 36.c. Okay, something, the random name I have given. Now I am compiling, compilation successful. Yeah, it is saying scores undeclared. First use okay, scores, not scores. See the name what I have given over here. I have given score, and here I am using scores. So I got issue. So whatever name I have declared, whatever name I have given for the array, the same name I have to use. Score. Save it. Compile, compilation successful, and execute. So what we were expecting, because we are accessing the first element, I should expect 10 on the output screen. So the same thing I got, 10 on the output screen I got. So now I will print the, let us say I want to print the third element. So this one, how we can? Scores of This is 0, this is 1, this is 2. What index value I have to use over here? Array index value I have to use over here. 3 as my index value. No, 2 as my index value I have to use to print 23 on the output screen. So save it. Now compile. Compilation is successful. Now execute. See this one, 23 we are getting. Array of scores of 2 is nothing but score of 2 is nothing but 23. Likewise. So the next thing, last element. How I can print the last element from the array? So this is maximum size minus 1. Maximum size is 5. 5 minus 1, 4. So score of 4 I have to use. Score of 4. If you say score of 4, it will print that last element. If you say score of 4, it will print that last element. And what is that last element? Minus 1. So can we get that minus 1 on the output screen? Yes, we can. See, minus 1. We are getting minus 1. So you, in this way, you can access all the array elements. In this way, you can access all the array elements. So let us say if I want to add the first element and fourth element. First element and fourth element. So what is the index to access the first element? 0. Isn't it? 0 is my first element, and I want to add the fourth element, that is third index value, isn't it? So score of 3. So now what I will get? 10 plus 17 I am saying. 10 plus 17. So that is nothing but 27. So I should get 27. So in this way you can manipulate. Compile. Okay. Then print. See here. 27 we got. 27. 10 plus 20, because we are adding the first 0th index element, fourth third index element. So I am getting 27. So like this you can. Like this you can. So to print all the values, how many printf I have to write? First I have written, then I am writing the second one. Second one here, index of 1. Save it, compile it and execute it. Compile it. Compilation successful, and then execute it. Run. See, 10 4, two values we are getting. 10 4, two values we are getting. Okay. Next, close this one. Then print another value, that is second index value, third value. Compile. Compilation successful, then run. See, we are getting first 3. 10 4 23 likewise. So instead of printing line by line, because line by line it is not giving the proper meaning, so I will simply give the spaces in between so that to have the clarity. Okay. So like this I will give only the spaces. Okay. So save it. Now I am printing the fourth value. Fourth value in the sense third index value. Third index value. 3 index value. We should not say third. We have to say 3 index value. So then saved. Then compile. See, here you are getting the first 4. This is 0th index 10. First index 4. Second index 23. Third index 17. Likewise we are getting. So lastly, print another final element. Fourth index. Index value 4 element. That is fifth element. Okay. Compile. Compilation successful. Execute. See, the same array elements we got. Same array elements we got 5. So now see, in order to print the elements on the output screen, what we are doing? We are repeating this printf statement many times. I mean, suppose if you have here, as we have 5 elements, we are writing the printf statement 5 times. Let us assume if you have 10 elements, then how many printf you need? 10. If you have 100 printf. Again, this kind of thing, it will look like inefficient. Isn't it? It will look like inefficient. So what we have to do, as we are going for repetition, over here the same statement is getting repeated, I can take the help of a loop. Okay, I can take the help of a loop, and to run the loop I need a counter. So that counter I am saying I. Okay, so for all I equals to, from 0th index we have to start. Okay, I equals to 0, then I must be less than 10 and I plus plus. So like this. So inside it, what I will write, I will not take this one because I am using only one statement. So that one statement is this one only, and rest of the thing I am removing. Rest of the thing we are removing. So over here, when we are printing array, Yeah, 0 means it will print only the first element, isn't it? So here what you want, in every iteration of this loop, the value must be, in the first iteration it must be 0, second iteration 1, third iteration 2, likewise, so that you can access all the elements from your array. So here only the loop counter will change its value in that way. In the first iteration the loop counter value will be 0, and in the second iteration the loop counter value will be 1, third iteration 2, fourth iteration likewise, isn't it? So how we can utilize this I to print the array elements, in the sense, simply put I over here in place of 0, put I. So what will happen, in the first iteration I value will become 0, so you can access score of 0. In the second iteration I value will become 1, so you can access score of 1. In the third iteration I value will become 2, so you can access score of 2. Likewise you can access all the elements, and here I set 10, and we have only 5 elements, so it should be 5 only, it should not be 10. Okay, and when I value becomes 4, it will access the last element, score of 4, and then I value becomes 5, and ultimately this condition becomes false and the loop will exit. See, the same thing we will get. How we got the output in previous case, in that same way we are getting the output. It is printing all the elements, but now we have written only one printf statement. Previously I have written, to get the same output from the array, how many printf statements I have written? I have written like 5 printf statements, but now only one printf statement with one extra loop. Likewise, so this concept, this phenomenon of loop, you can apply even for 100 elements. If you have the patience, you can even apply for 100 elements. So even if you are going for 100 elements, to print that 100 elements, you don't need to write 100 printf statements. Simply this 2 lines of code is enough. One is the loop and a loop formation, and the other one is one printf statement. So this simple formation is more than enough. Okay, so yeah, we will see all types of initializations now. The simple basic initialization already we are seeing. This is the basic initialization, as we have discussed over here. Basic initialization means initialize all the elements. Okay, initialize all the elements, and here we are saying only 5, only 5. So now compile, execute. So this is your basic initialization. It is printing all the elements. So second type is initialization without size. Don't put the size over here, and just for our clarity I am changing over here, like 56 I am taking, one more element I am taking. So now how many elements I have? Like 6 elements I have. So here it should be changed to 6. So now I can access those 6 elements in my program. See, compilation and run. See, all 6 elements including 56. That means array size it automatically incremented. Array size it got automatically incremented. But giving a different size, like here if you are giving only 5 and you are initializing 6 elements, I guess it will give error. We will see. See, here we got warning message view, excess elements in array initialization. It is written very small, maybe it is visible or not visible to you. Excess elements in array initializer. So we have given one extra element, so that is the reason why we are getting this error. Okay, in this way, how many elements you have? Only that many elements you can initialize. I mean, less number of elements you can initialize, and the last element will take, I guess, 0. We'll see this one. Compilation successful, because here I have how many elements? 5 elements I have, and I'm accessing 5 elements, and I'm initializing. I have initialized only 3 elements. Let us say only 3 I have initialized. I have initialized only 3 elements, but I'm accessing how many? 5 elements. So quickly see what those two, I mean those 2 extra, what it will take. See, here we are getting 0 0. Okay, we are getting 0 0. Likewise, only first 3 we have initialized, so 10 4 23, and the last 2 we are getting 0 0. Okay, we are getting 0 0. So like this you can remember. So whatever elements you are initializing, they will accept the values with your initialization, and whatever elements you are leaving uninitialized, they will accept zeros. Okay, this is partial initialization also I have shown. Only the first 3 we have initialized, and rest of the things they took zeros only. And initializing all elements to 0, what I said, simply put 0 over here. So this what it will do, it will initialize all my 5 elements to 0 only, zeros only. So do the compilation is successful. Do the execution, see all 5 zeros we are getting. Even though I have initialized only 1 0 over here, it will make all my 5 elements from the array to be initialized to 0. So like this. See, whatever strategies we have done today, whatever experiments we have done today, whatever practical stuff we have seen today, it is very important. The understanding is very important, because without this understanding, you can't even move one step ahead. Believe me, one step ahead. In order to move ahead, you need the complete control structure knowledge, like your if else statement, your for loops, your while loop, your do while loop, the complete knowledge we need. Your identifiers, keywords, then variables, then data types we discussed. After that, control structures we started. Your operators. Operators also, it is one of the important topic. Dedicate the days. Dedicate the days, like this day, so and so date, I will prepare operators. Finalize the operator, prepare thoroughly and finalize. Then dedicate another day for conditional branching. Okay, dedicate one day and finalize that one. If you have any doubts, approach me. Then looping, iterative statements. See, all these program constructs, they are very, very, very important. And believe me, as we proceed in the syllabus, every day will become a new concept to you. Every day will become a new concept to you, because your C programming, it is the very first time that you are learning, and everything is like a new thing to you. So that is the reason why you have to dedicate more time, you have to give more time to get the understanding of the concept. You have to practice from the very beginning, because many students, they are approaching me and they are saying, sir, we didn't get any single point. So what we can do, we are giving the full knowledge. We have created the videos. I am showing the stuff practically, how each and every statement I am writing, that also I am giving practically. We have the doubt sessions Monday and Tuesday. You can come and you can clarify your doubts. Simply sitting home and doing nothing, and posting the attendance, opening the link, posting the attendance and saying, sir, we have not understood anything. We can't do anything, right? We can't do anything. See, as I said, it is a career-oriented study. You have to behave like professionals in order to get the knowledge. You are no more kids, and if you are not getting, means you will only fail. There are others. I mean, if even one student is following me, following my videos, and doing as per my instructions, and he is getting passed in my subject, that's enough for me. Out of 180 students, even if one student will pass, means that's more than enough to me. So take it as a call. Immediately take it as a call, and don't waste the time like we are in lockdown. Somebody will come, somebody will wake up so that we can start. It is not like that. You have to wake yourself up, and you have to do the practice. That's it. There is no other way, and nobody is going to help you at the end. You are the only one who is going to help yourself. Okay, in order to clear this subject, especially for civil people, this subject is going to be a nightmare if you're not going to clear this over here. Okay, the same thing for CSC, IT. If you don't follow, you will not clear, because there is no difference. You also a fresher, and civil also a fresher. Of course, afterwards, when it comes to the second semester, third semester, because you are learning, because you are going to learn some more advanced concept, may C will look a silly thing to you. May C will look a silly thing to you, so that you can easily clear in your third semester, fourth semester. Why I said it is going to be a nightmare for civil, means because they are not going to study any advanced concept in this C programming, and here only you will stop the programming stuff. That is the reason why it will become a nightmare to you, because when it goes to when the as the time passes, all this learning you will forget, and you will never open. You are not going to open the book. Only before the exam day you will open the book, and again it will look like some Chinese, Japanese to you, and you will go to the exam, you will write something, and you will come back again, you will get fail. The same thing is happening to with many students, not only in our college, in other colleges as well, because I taught in other colleges as well, and I have seen over there as well, many mechanical, many civil people, they got stuck in PPS language, or C programming language. The reason is this one, because you will not study any further concepts in this programming, so the programming will always be a new thing to you. Okay, if that is the case, programming will always be a new thing to you. So in order to clear this subject, you have to give some time, you have to show some patience, and you have to show some effort to this C programming. Hopefully you might understood. And very less attendance we are getting as part of the videos, as part of the attendance link. Very less attendance. Already I conveyed this to your HOD as well. So very less attendance we are getting, like hardly like 60-70% we are getting, not more than that. 60-70% is not the perfect count. We need a minimum of 90 plus. Minimum, I'm saying. We need a minimum of 90 plus attendance. And I'm bothering about the students, those who are not attending my classes, those who are not giving the attendance, those who are not completing the assignment, and they are going to struggle a lot. Okay? So take it as a call, show some seriousness towards this subject. It is not a silly subject, or it is not a simple subject that you can study today and write tomorrow. It is not like that. You have to do some hard work. Hopefully you understood. Thank you very much, students.